We're back on What the Funk. We got a late January recording here with my man Leon Oloya. I don't know if I can call him my man. I've only met him once, but I can tell that he'd be my man if we spent a little bit more time together. So I'm excited. I'm excited to have you on, Leon. This was a connection through the Digital Wildcatters Fuse event. That was a little bit of your kind of go-to-market party for your new company, which we'll get all into. But as we introduced each other kind of on a high-level introduction call, I found your background pretty fascinating. I believe that you're from California. You've worked in the big company role. You've started your own kind of entrepreneurial gig. I think maybe you even played football at one point. There's a bunch of things I want to dig into here. So awesome to get introduced to somebody through the Digital Wildcatters Network. I hope you got value out of the Fuse show. And Leon, I'm just going to get right into it. Who is Leon Oloya?
Appreciate it. So no, I'm glad to be here. And yes, I will first say we will be friends. We will be buddies, boys, all of the above. It's only a matter of time. So who's Leon Oloya? So like you mentioned, Leon Oloya grew up in San Diego, born in Detroit. So I do cheer for all the Detroit teams, Michigan.
Oh, well, we could just stop right there. How about it, man? This is a whole, the Lions.
The Lions, I'm telling you. Yeah, I have Barry Sanders on the wall, picture that my brother drew. I'm definitely Lions fan, Pistons fan, Tigers fan, anything Detroit. Again, that's what the parents and my mom's side of the family cheered for. But we moved to San Diego when I was 3 years old, so it was San Diego's what I call home when I do go home. Grew up there in Southeast San Diego. Modest at the time, inner city community. It's a little bit gentrified now when we think of San Diego, but at the time, it was typical inner city that you would see on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. Parents were very, how would I say this? They're very well educated, but had a high value in education, probably above anything else. So to the point where my mom's family went to Catholic schools and whatnot in Detroit, not because they were Catholic, but because that was the best education.
Nice.
And over the years, you kind of you become accustomed to the teachings and whatnot and growing to it. And very similar, growing up in San Diego, we, went off that same front where my mom's like, look, I care about education enough. Let me find a private school to put my kids in and started, at that aspect of, yes, education matters. And education is not only school, but it's how you're learning in every aspect, interpersonal, out in nature, but as well as the textbooks, X's and O's. And so that same education and value of got me a high school scholarship. So I went to a private school in San Diego called Marian Catholic High,
okay.
Which actually dollar for dollar gave me a higher scholarship than my college scholarship.
Nice.
We'll talk about that. But yeah, went on academic / athletic scholarship, and I was a straight A student there. Kind of doing the general class, but also a few AP / honors classes, especially in the STEM-based subjects. Played football, basketball, ran track. That awarded me a scholarship to New Mexico State University. Where I majored in civil engineering while playing football for the Aggies, who went to back-to-back bowl games. At least the first time that I think maybe ever won 10 games this past season.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, for us Aggie fans, that was a big deal. Out of New Mexico State, hired on with ExxonMobil, and it was an interesting scenario where I had an opportunity to coach college football upon graduation, but also had this job of being an engineer in front of me, and starting salaries were about the same. And I'll give my receiver coach a lot of credit, because he was quick to tell me, Leon, starting salaries are the same, but believe me, it'll pay off more if you go to ExxonMobil.
Yeah, wait till you see what it's like in 10 years. Unless you become a head coach somewhere, you might want to go to Exxon.
That's right. Yeah. So the one in few Sabans and Jim Harbaughs that get those $12 million paydays, they get it, but everybody else is a journeyman moving their family around and GAing for 20 grand a year and just getting the snot beat out of you. It's not necessarily everybody's profession. So it worked out well for me to go to ExxonMobil route. I started in the pipeline group or department, doing crude oil and product movement out in Southeast Louisiana, Mississippi, and Gulf of Mexico. that was a position that came across the Katrina time frame. So
Mm.
had a rapid acceleration of project rebuilds because of all the damage that was done in the area. And so as a young engineer, to be able to see, call it 10 years worth of projects in a year and a half, 2 years was pretty impressive. And so that definitely jump started my career with ExxonMobil, not only being able to tackle unique problems where you have underwater pipelines and
Mm.
nobody has housing and anything else and infrastructure, and your levees are needing to get rebuilt, but you're still trying to keep refineries up, and so you're relocating stuff. Just all kinds of just unique challenges that people that can work a 30 or 40-year career might not see, that I was able to see in that 2.5 year stint there in that role. And so after there, moved over to a similar role in Southern California. At the time, ExxonMobil owned the Torrance refinery.
Back home.
That's right. Yeah. So I was there in the Los Angeles area, only about an hour and a half away
Yeah.
from San Diego. It's kind of interesting because I was only an hour and a half away, but I probably visited San Diego about as much as I did when I lived in Houston. So when you talk about the cost of living adjustment and whatnot, you say, "Oh, I'm
Oh
going
yeah.
home. It'll be fun." So yeah, I could probably live in Houston and visit home more economically than I can just drive down I-5.
No
But
doubt.
no, it worked out well. It's, again, learned a ton. The unique challenges there was operating pipelines in city streets. So you think of, came from an underwater area where you're having to do stuff with divers and whatnot that most of the nation didn't necessarily deal with. Now I'm working in, Main Street, LA, where you're cutting down the middle of Sepulveda. And you can't even start till 9 p.m. because you have to wait till rush hour gets off.
Right.
You have all your trench plates back on by 5:30 a.m. so you can beat the rush hour traffic coming out. So it's a completely unique type of work environment as a young engineer, but definitely helped me, kind of hone the skill sets that I, still rely on now when you get unique challenges or differences, and how do you, stay with the base, but then add on, the uniqueness to address there. And so did that role for about a year and a half, moved back to Houston. At this point in time, they have me on what they call the managerial development track. And so they're kind
Okay.
of giving me experiences around the business. And so ran an operations group and damage prevention, third party digging. Towards the latter part of that assignment, I went back to school. So I went to Rice University here in Houston and got my MBA. And about that time, started going on the commercial track. So I first went commercial pipeline, where you're cutting connection agreements with other departments as well as other companies like Chevron and Shell and people that you might deem a competitor, but also want to use your same infrastructure. Um, Flopped into refining. So I went to Baton Rouge for 4 years and did 3 different assignments there. First running the maintenance on offsites, then one of the 12 units that they have, which did all the clean products blending and shipping. And then last, I was a section supervisor in what they call coordination and product quality. But think of it as the economic arm of the refinery there. Came back into Houston and went logistics commercial again. Went to a what they call a crude optimizer, so covering the Gulf Coast buys and sells of crude oil for ExxonMobil, as well as if we were to give us a trade signal, the traders can go and execute barrels to other third parties. Short stint as a department head in engineering with the pipeline group, and then the last role that I had was the executive role over the West Coast Rockies P&L. So I, on the downstream side, the West Coast Rockies geographic region P&L fell under my team, whatnot. So big job, executive job. You're sitting there at the age of 40 with a company you love that treated you well.
Yeah.
And able to run, you're talking about a couple $1 billion worth of revenue, hundreds of $1 millions, probably a little shy of 200, just shy of $200 million net profit. So I mean, decent sized firms, like a Starbucks even. I mean, you look at their P&L, it's about in range, especially in the U.S. base. And so you think about that kind of magnitude. You say, look, well, if you can do it here, yes, it takes 90 hours a week and whatnot and so on. So
Yeah.
you're still willing to do that same grind. Can you do that elsewhere? And so, yeah, beginning of February 2022, we closed on a real estate deal, a buddy of mine, and looking for a project manager and kind of going, I'm like, look, I can do that. And I
Yeah.
can do the ExxonMobil equivalent, consulting and value add, data driven strategy development outside. And if you do a good job and provide a good product, it'll work out. And so, yeah, it's been a year and a half now, almost 2 years. Definitely a roller coaster coming across 2023 with banking and all those changes in that environment. But, it's what we signed up for, and it's enjoyable. I tell people all the time, it's not work if you're having fun, and it's definitely a fun ride.
Well, there's a lot to jump into there. I appreciate you sharing the whole story. Question that I have about ExxonMobil. So if I got this right, it was Houston, Louisiana, LA, Houston, Baton Rouge, right? Rockies. You're all over the place. Is that common for a big company like that? Because I always think of, oh, you're a big company, you just go into the office every day, you're based in the large Houston headquarters, but you were really all over the place. One, is that sort of normal? And two, did you like that, or did you feel like that was like a challenge for you to have to adjust, make new friends, find new apartments, and living in different cities?
No, I mean, one thing, that I would say that I think ExxonMobil does it right is they definitely are probably the best training ground that you can have. And I'd argue probably in any profession. I mean, it happened to be engineering, but in the latter part of my career, I was doing very little engineering. It was more of other. But their desire to make sure that you have the experiences that you need to be able to be a global leader do require you at times, especially if you want to short circuit the time, to move to find, okay, look, you need to run a unit in a refinery. You've only been in pipeline. Well, you can sit here in Houston and wait until Baytown has an opening, and that might be 5 or 6 years, or you can leave next month and go on to Baton Rouge, which is the equivalent of the, academies, they used to call it, and pick up that experience, there. And so while I wouldn't call it typical all the way through your career, I would say that definitely the first 3 to 5, I'll say 3 assignments that you see, like at ExxonMobil, they do a good job of trying to move you around. If you do have restrictions, like, hey, I have school-age children, or taking care of my mom, they will definitely work, especially if you're in Houston. There's a ton of jobs in Houston that
right.
You don't have to move. But if you don't have a restriction, I was one that said, look, I'm a single male with no kids, fresh out of college. I don't care where.
Send me wherever, yeah.
Exactly. Send me wherever. Let me work. Let me learn. It's only a 3-hour flight from wherever I want to be anyway, so I can fly out somewhere on Friday night and still be back by Sunday, and work. So there's definitely that flexibility. Now, later on in your career, especially when you get to those upper level management roles, those executive roles, they truly are a couple that might come about. So you start saying no. Well, okay, you say no to this role, it might be, your off ramp.
Wow.
Because somebody else took that position and now gave them that experience that they demonstrated their capability in, and then went on. And so, it's I would say it's the right level of desire. If you want more of it, yes, you can move more. If you want less of it, yes, you can do less. But there are different experiences you get in each one. So you just have to realize that, you can say no or move away or ask not to be considered for such, but that's just, another variable that got turned off that, that makes it a little harder to get to that end goal. If you say I need to be a global leader, a little harder to be at that end goal, without running out of time.
Yeah, I appreciate that insight, and it lines up with what some of my other friends have seen and done at bigger companies, whether it be pharmaceutical, medical, healthcare, oil and gas, you name it. It's sort of like, hey, you're on this VP track, and at some of these larger companies, that VP position could be multiple millions of dollars every year, right? Could life-changing amounts of money potentially. But it might involve, well, we're going to need you to live in Malaysia for 6 months. And you're like, well, I don't want to live in Malaysia for 6 months. And it's like, well, maybe you're not really wanting to be a VP is what you're telling me by answering that question. Right. So you're faced with interesting life decisions and challenges that probably only continue to get harder as you do have a family, as you want to kind of settle into living in one place. So kudos to you for taking those opportunities, but then also going out to take the entrepreneurial route. So let's talk about that a little bit, right? So you spent by my count, about 17 years at
Yep, yep,
Exxon. Was that
17
17
years.
years? Right. 17 years, 8 months to the day. Yeah. 3 weeks, 2 days, and
Right.
1 hour and 16 minutes, 37 seconds. But
I have
you,
seen people with their retirement counters on their desk
that's
that go down
amazing.
to the millisecond. So it's not
That's
pain
amazing.
free.
That's amazing. So you're in a spot where you've done all these things, right? You're on this management track. You started at 23 and then you find yourself your early 40s and you decide to go off and start your own thing. Like, was that a hard decision for you? And tell me more a little bit about your company today and what you guys
Yeah.
do.
So from the decision, I would say it's hard. And I think what's actually makes it hard is that you were comfortable. Yeah, I think it'll be a very easy decision.
Yeah.
You hated your job, you
Sure.
didn't want to be there, but no, you're sitting there saying, "Look, like you have a good job and you're working with good people. What are you doing?" But it is that feeling of there's more out there, and I don't have to turn off the good aspects of this job just because I do leave. So like my phone number didn't change. I
Yeah.
still go grab a beer with the same folks that I was working with. And I find myself still trying to fight the same challenges and problem sets that they are. And it gets fun when you have a different set of tools because you are an entrepreneur and you do own the firm that you can say, hey, look, we're going to go try this, or we're going to go invest time and money in here. And yeah, it wasn't in the budget, but we're going to try it because we think it's the right thing to do. And so on and so forth. And so that nimbleness, that ability to have a little bit more risk, but reward is really what drove me to say, look, let's call it quits here in this chapter, and then open up the Candor Technical chapter immediately thereafter. And so, that ride of, okay, you start a firm that has zero marketing, nobody knows who Candor Technical is. You have a nice, especially in today's world with the ability to have LinkedIn profiles and online, you have a decent Rolodex that you can take with people kind of get the update, but people are still saying, well, what do you do? Like, what is Candor? How do you, and so trying to show folks these are the answers that we can answer and the data that we can provide to give you value add and so on and so forth has been that challenge. So you mentioned the Digital Wildcatters Fuse event there at the music hall here in Houston. And that was an opportunity for Candor to get out in front of the public a little bit and show, this is what we do. This is how we do it. We're actually co-inhabiting a booth with Refinery Calc, who we utilize as a calculator, as a tool to help us articulate, the magnitude and the value add or reduced with some of the decisions and strategies that might be sought. Obviously, specifically that for that case for refineries. But yeah, we try to provide data-driven strategies, and when folks say, okay, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of times it's understanding the base. So there is a little bit of research. I think, the thing that we do a little bit better, we'd like to utilize the digital platforms, whether it be data lakes, things of that nature, where we can not only get some of the qualitative stuff, like, that we interviewed these 10 people or went out on site and how they're doing it, but also that interdependent, cause and effect type insights that you gather when you truly start overlaying data. So not only utilizing the shipping reports and asking them, hey, why do we have so much demurrage, but looking at the rail schedule, overlaying the weather, overlaying who the operator was on shift, and you find out, man, I don't know what Jeremy does. Every time Jeremy's on shift, we get 5 more KVD out of the system than when he. So Jeremy just happens to be pretty special. Let's be honest. But no, I'll put a pin in that right there. So you're basically looking for, and you said this to Max and me when we were on the call, like you're trying to find pennies and nickels that through data that eventually add up to be millions of dollars. Yeah.
And that could be something that companies are overlooking right now because there's still a level of profitability associated with their business. And to me, that's kind of cool. Are you Do you have competition? Like, are there big companies that do this? Are there other candors in the world that do this? Or do you feel like you've kind of carved out a little bit of a niche that just didn't really exist?
No, definitely. So first, I would say just go. So a lot of times they're actually even dollars and tens of dollars, even in the initial. And the reason why is there are times that data or the lack thereof doesn't even allow folks to look in certain places. So
Yeah.
we'll have folks, for instance, like a trader, will sit there and talk about a nickel a barrel. Hey, should I go trade this person? We talk about a nickel a barrel, but you're ignoring the mode of transportation. That's $2 a barrel difference, or $10 a barrel versus rail. And so, yes, some people might chase that penny. We do try to prioritize it. So we'll look at it from magnitude, top to bottom. And if it is only a penny, like we'll get that after we knock out these other nine. But a lot of the bigger ones, it's we don't necessarily know the reason why, but we know Jeremy's better. And Jeremy, that 5 KBD more that he's making is actually $25, 25,000 a day. All right.
Mm.
So whatever we need to do, even if it means Jeremy, can you be a trainer for our team now? And now all of a sudden Jeremy gets a $30,000 bonus. He goes out and trains all the shifts and sends one of his and now we're getting that 5 KBD out of everybody. That needle movement in the first month can support probably 10 to 15 years of what Candor is doing. And so that's what
Nice.
we try to leverage is, look, here's what we're seeing with your data or with our relationships or what we've seen in other projects. Let's validate if that's the case, or let us, test it. Like, let us turn this knob. And if we see that improvement, great, let's keep on going.
Yeah.
Or if we don't see improvement, turn it off. And so you are looking at that cause and effect and seeing what is giving you the value. A lot of times they are like, we know about it already. Like, and this was the case in ExxonMobil. Hey, we know that this line is derated and we just have to find a way to, justify this project. But we have all this other stuff that we have going on, and people are changing jobs, and this person's boss quit, and the new boss came in and changed up the work list, and now they put this project on the shelf. And so sometimes it's like they already know the problem. Candor's just executing the work, and so that's where I would say we're using much more of just our sound training and practices and background that we learn. But is there really anything overly strategic? Maybe not. Maybe we're just doing a lot of stuff well and getting repeat business. But while you're doing that, you are picking up trends. So that's a lot of times when you see hey, I don't know if you noticed, but Jeremy's ship is kicking tail. And you were just doing the project implementation of some other item. And that's where you pick up that this little nuance here might actually save you 10 or 15 KBD. And so we had several examples. I remember one, we use a software called Jump where you can, kind of manually overlay a lot of these data sets and see what correlates with what. But it was pipeline repair costs that we were trying to get our hands around. How do you lower the cost? And it comes to find out that some of the biggest impacted items were associated with how does the job site look from a beautification process of, was it well
Really?
marked and mat, timber mats, and some of that stuff might double, triple the cost of a pipeline repair. Well, that's not hitting somebody's radar in the pipeline integrity department because they're thinking about, repair methods or some other toggle that might be adjusting the cost when in reality it was this factor. And so that subject or that I guess practice, that capability, we leverage with oil and gas more than any other sector because of our background with the global majors. But we've also leveraged it in real estate. We leverage it in supply. So like looking at self-storage and where's the best place to build self-storage, and you're looking at the analytics to say where's their population growth, that with the right land cost, with the right level of backlog in storage rentals, you can start doing the same data-driven strategy that says this is an ideal location. And so that's something that Candor has done for an affiliate of mine. And same thing we're working on. I don't want to say their name because it's under NDA, but call it a Fortune 3, and you can look at the top 3 and see which one does supply chain
logistics. See, Fortune 3.
So
supply chain logistics.
That's the beauty of Google these days, that there's no such thing as but yeah, the firm is looking at how do we efficiently implement some of our programs, and while it's not oil and gas, it's still commodity type transactions that you're efficiently trying to use, logistics to provide the lowest cost to the consumer, or maintain the highest revenue. So the same digital um, and data driven strategies are utilized and employed to make those recommendations.
Do you do you like it? Like, have you found this to be, obviously there's different challenges between what you were doing at Exxon and what you're doing here. I can't imagine what it's like to run a $1 billion business with 20% margins and having to maintain that, the pressure associated with it, and trying to find advantages. And then all of a sudden you go to a place where you're at zero,
Right.
right? And you're probably sleeping a little bit less. Man, I know I can do this, but I got to get this off the ground. Do I have the level of confidence? Like you're gonna get some kicks in the shins every once in a while. Like, you sound energized about it, but like, how do you feel about it so far? Do you like it? You feel like this was the right move? And what do you think the future is for this company?
So do I like it? I So the answer is yes, but I probably say I like the outcome more. It's kind of like working out. Do I like to work out? Some people, but you like the outcome, right?
Yeah,
I do think that it's necessary to get into that uncomfortable challenge in order to get growth, right? And
totally.
so, but it was the same inside the fence at ExxonMobil. Hell, I was, an 80-hour work week was nothing. I mean, you had the best of the best that you can find around the world, and you put them in one organization, and then you tell them to compete against each other from
Yeah.
a ranking standpoint. I mean, and you have folks that can easily be CEOs of billion-dollar companies that were considered middle of the pack. Just all right, yeah,
Wow.
he's good, she's good. It's cool. They got a PhD and in a top school and PE stamped and whatever. Like that was not abnormal.
Yeah.
Um, and one thing that Exxon had is you had brand. So if you say one of the biggest differences is, like, when I was at ExxonMobil, I can walk into a meeting room and say, "Hey, look, my name is Leon. I'm the P&L owner for the West Coast Rockies for ExxonMobil," and everybody would listen.
For
Oh shit,
sure.
who's that guy? Like, let me grab him after the meeting. So
Well,
if you're trying to,
he must have an important job here.
right, exactly, that's right, that's right, that's right. And so you have that brand that when you come in now 2 weeks
Interesting.
later, you're the same guy. Say, "Hey, my name is Leon Oloya. I work for Candor." Okay, everybody still has their head down writing, and it's not to say, "Well, I'm formerly ExxonMobil," and now they started to listen again, again. And so that has probably been, I would call, the probably one of the more challenging items, but it was known. I mean, I can't. I knew that the brand of ExxonMobil is much higher than Candor Technical.
Yeah.
And you know that the biggest reason and the biggest opportunity is, that the upside with some of the deals that we worked, and I would say, quite regularly, not even like the home run deals that we've had, but some of the ones that were, yeah, you do 2 or 3 of these a year, in private industry, that would be much higher than an ExxonMobil executive salary. And it's a typical. And then especially if you actually get it, scaled up, and, you actually sell it, or, you get exit, all these various things of that nature, it gets better. And so that belief, that, look, if I do the same level of grind, that I've done
Yeah.
before. It didn't start, actually. It was before, when I was, getting straight A's and playing, high school football, and, then doing the same as an engineering student and at New Mexico State while playing football, and then doing it while working in Katrina response with ExxonMobil, and it doesn't stop. You got to keep on doing that, and that's what people are saying that they like, and that's what they're paying for. But if you continue to do that, and you hone your craft, and you get good at your craft, and you lock in, people will pay for that no matter what. And I don't care what it is. If you want to make ball caps, damn, if you get educated on how to make good ball caps, and then get those experiences and battle test it back and forth, and dial in, okay, what is that good formula? And now you just do it over and over and over again for your 80 or 90 hours a week, it will pay. And so that's the philosophy and I would say confidence that that I felt like what was necessary and needed, but also what I employed internally when I was saying, look, I quit. I remember a day when my boss was like, you're
He was
quitting?
like, you what?
What? Like, I didn't even have a resignation letter. She's like, do you have a resignation letter? I'm like, oh no, hold on, I'll get you one for the end of the day. Um, and I knew, but I'm like, look, but I still want to help you guys. I'm not leaving in haste. So like, I know you don't
Yeah,
have a bill yet. I'll transition and so on and so forth. And so how does that now tailor into Candor? Well, we do still want to be that provider. So still to this day, I have people at ExxonMobil that I mentor. And I'm like, that doesn't have to change just because of my badge.
that's right.
Uh, and if I can share you a nugget that you can then use to better your career, that you're probably going to remember, hey, look, Leon helped me with this nugget. Let me ask him the next question. And so on and so forth. And so I do find myself now, in Candor, finds up now building off those same laurels that the good product that you provided to the ExxonMobils of the world and ExxonMobil. Now, their buddies are calling and saying, hey, look, I talked to so-and-so, they recommended you, what else can you do here? And so I do think that boutique kind of bespoke, targeted, Navy SEAL like addressing of challenges and providing solutions that are value add, will continue to keep Candor in the spotlight. I don't see Candor being large 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 type firm. I see us
Yeah.
being that you call us like the way you called Olivia Pope in Scandal. You call us in when you need when you need to get the answers strategically done. When you need to get when you need to get the results that you want now, and make them unique to you. I'll write a package and hand it over to somebody and let them slap their name on it and take it into their management. I know their management and I know what they're going to want to see. And if that allows you now to go do what you need to do for the next 2 weeks, you look at me as, hey, that's a value add item. You gave me 2 weeks of my life back, or you gave me 2 weeks to work on something else. And so we got
Mm,
more work done, effectively. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's the path. There are some things that as we identify opportunities, it does allow us to play a little bit in a different role. So not only the strategy provider and whatnot, but then also that we can take the risk with the firm. So look, a true partner, like,
sure.
hey, if you we'll go find the capital and get this item stood up, or we'll go help you get the offtake agreement
Yeah.
and whatnot, because we have intimately been involved with the data, acquisition and review. So Candor feels pretty good about this path forward. Let's go make this argument together. And that's some of the stuff that you can do with a small, nimble firm that it's kind of hard to do at ExxonMobil, right? So
Nice. Yeah, you said something a couple minutes ago that I really latched onto, which is when you walked into a room and you were the head of the Rockies business unit and managing $1 billion P&L, people really respected and appreciated that. And then all of a sudden you start your own company. And it's like, what the hell is this?
yeah,
That is actually the antithesis of what my experience was in terms of starting my own company. See, I was just not just I was a sales guy, right, for some small oil and gas technology companies. And I think I was lumped into a bucket of, well, this is just sort of what you are, right? And
yeah,
I always had this deep internal belief like, no, I'm more than that, right? I'm a content creator and I'm a marketer, and I'm a salesman and I'm a coach and I'm a trainer and a connector and all
yeah,
these things. And what happened when I decided to go out and just say, I'm launching my own firm and it's called Funk Futures. I put my name right on it, right, and said we're going to do contract sales and recruiting for emerging oil and gas tech companies. There was like an outpouring of love and respect and appreciation that I didn't see
yeah,
when I was in a previous role, and in a lot of ways, it probably went to my head in the wrong way. Like it sounds like your experience was kind of the opposite, where it was like kind of humbling, where it's like,
yeah,
wow, this is Leon, and he manages $1 billion P&L, and now all of a sudden it's like, who the hell is this Candor
yeah,
experience? So
yeah,
I find that kind of fascinating.
yeah. No, and I wouldn't even. I would say that was expected to it, and not that reaction came from the people I knew. So I would say like the
Right.
people that are already my LinkedIn know when I say I'm leaving, I'm going to Candor. It was like to like where you just go, hey, where are you going? Let me know. What are you guys
Yeah.
working on? You know, I'd love to hear more. Set up coffee. But to that true stranger, like you're doing a booth at Digital Wildcatters, and if I just had a Candor tent set up, you know, I would have to. They would come and ask me way more questions versus if I had the ExxonMobil tent, where they would already know. Okay, look, this is what you do, and so on and so forth. And so
Yeah.
your marketing has to change. I mean, hell, we didn't even get kicked off with our true LinkedIn campaign up until probably about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
When reality, you know, stuff like that, you know, you have somebody in a whole nother department's been doing it for years prior to you and mastering your logo and your cut sheets and all that stuff that you as an entrepreneur, you have to, you know, you have to bring that to yourself,
You
but
got to figure that out.
figure that out. You got to figure that out. And so I do think that as you figure that out and you figure it out with the right people, the word gets out, and it's pretty. You know, it kind of gets into you know like even a deeper philosophy on how how people flange up, even they randomly bump into each other, or where there's so much like items that they were kind of already kind of gravitating to the same type of reading material, and then kind of bumped into each other that way. And, you know how
Yeah.
it all works. It gets real interesting, but that's what makes it fun. You know, I'm going back to campus, and you're seeing friends and old classmates. Then they're asking what you're working on, and you explain what you're doing, and then they throw another project on your lap that you never would even talked about if you didn't talk about how you left and you were doing these new things. And
Yeah.
you know, it definitely comes full circle. And I think the space that we're doing it in, it's energy, is not going anywhere in my opinion. Even the
Nah.
conventional stuff, maybe in certain brand new installations, but you know, you're not going to just flip a switch overnight. So it's energy, it's data slash digital,
Yep.
and that is the way that we're going. I mean, everything is being digitized. If you wanted to have any kind of true repeatability and true, efficiency, you'll at least digitize it in some way, shape or form. And then it's going in the terms of like value add. And so whether it's machine
Yeah.
learning, AI, or
Yep.
whatever gets you smart or gets you a better answer than what you had before, because now you have new insights and data. It's a fun space to be in. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk to me about like what is the target company and like persona, buyer user of Candor Technical Services. So if somebody's listening to this
Yeah.
podcast, like who are you going to thread the needle with?
Right. So it's multiple. I would say if I had to bucket it, I would say downstream oil and gas. So from the wellhead though, downstream. So it doesn't, not necessarily downhole, but downstream. If you're a producer, you're probably asking about improved netbacks of some sort. And so we
Okay.
do a lot of analysis around, let me see your crude type, your assay. Who are you selling to it today? And kind of what does that compare to the market price? Who might value it more? Or how do you get it to them cheaper? So therefore you're recognizing a healthier netback than what you had before. If you're a midstream company, that I would say that was a lot of work, especially at ExxonMobil I did. But how do you optimize that operation where you can move more barrels down your pipe cheaper?
Yep.
You can
Yep.
reduce demurrage, where you can justify expansions because you're handling higher throughputs, where you can blend crudes or different feedstocks to make unique combinations for different sites. And then if you're a refiner, it's kind of looking at the problem a little bit differently. Normally they have an idea of what they like, but they don't necessarily know where to source it or how they can do it in combination or how they can use their mode of transportation and get it there to them cheaper. So, hey, you're still running WTI crude like you always ran WTI crude. But instead of you going through these three market centers and paying everybody a take or pay or doing some jump overs and losing quality over tank hills, here's a way you can do it in that fashion. And so that's what I would say is our prototypical oil and gas client. And we'll use different tools to describe such. And sometimes the tool is just a relationship. Oh yeah, you need to talk to the crude trading manager over here at this firm.
Yeah, there's value in that. Relationships in this industry still mean a lot. Kind of an
Exactly.
old school handshake network, and
Yep.
trust has to be built by delivering value. But that's interesting. So there you do work with operators, right, within the marketing group. You're going to work with refiners. You're going to work with the transportation and gathering groups a little bit too. So really anywhere you can sort of find a little bit of value or a lot of value in some cases, you're going to do it, which is cool. And I think you'll go ahead.
Banks, that's another one that's kind of unique. Banks and fund managers saying, look,
they trade.
They trade or they want to build the refinery. Leon, I want to build a refinery. I just need to know where I can take these barrels. If I can get an offtake agreement, I can get all the funding I need to have my refinery built. The senior debt's already lined up. The equity's already there. We need an offtake agreement. And so they need somebody to get it into a bite-sized type argument and take it to somebody that can do that. And so, that's probably a little bit of a non-conventional, value chain provider or value chain adder that's looking at who can give me that answer, that strategy that can now, let the whole, the whole equation take place.
Dig it. I'm gonna put you on the hot seat for a second. Throw some rapid fire at you.
I like it.
I didn't prepare you for this, but we're getting into it. One, where's your favorite place that you've lived? You've lived in a bunch of places. Where's your favorite?
Favorite place? I probably would say. So San Diego to me is America's finest. So, but that's kind of cheap. I'm gonna say Houston.
Really?
Houston has a lot, and I'm talking from industry. It's made up of a lot of folks that aren't necessarily from here.
Yeah, it's very diverse.
Very diverse. I think the economic climate is very healthy, especially compared to places in the nation. And you can get to anywhere. I mean, you can fly United or Southwest, pretty much nonstop to almost any city around here. You can, the hardest part is trying to drive across Texas. But yeah, I'd probably say Houston, number one place to live.
I dig Houston. Way too hot in the summer for me. And you're from San Diego, but the secret about San Diego is it actually never gets that hot.
It doesn't.
Which is the beauty. You can have summers where it doesn't even hit 70 degrees for days at a time, weeks at a time, which
most houses don't have AC. I never had a house that had AC until I went to New Mexico. So,
and then in Houston, you would die.
You would die. AC. You might go to jail if you're a landlord with no AC.
No, I see that about Houston. I like to rib on my friends from Houston just because, the traffic, the heat. I like to say it's sort of like all of the things that it's very similar to Los Angeles, right? Yeah. Like it's very spread out. If you're in the Woodlands or if you're in Thousand Oaks, right, to get to Newport Beach or to get to Katy or Galveston or something, like good luck. You know what I mean? You're on the other side of the world. It could take you 2-3 hours depending on traffic. Right. But all the things that people like about LA, you don't have in Houston. But all the things that you don't like about LA, you still have in Houston. But now Houston's been I've probably been to Houston 200 times at this point in my 17-year career in oil and gas. And the food, it's probably the best food city in America. I like the diversity. I feel like if you want Afghani food or any type of Mediterranean food or Asian fusion that you've never had before, and of course Tex-Mex, not true Mexican, but Tex-Mex. Right, I could see that with Houston, and also you don't have to pay the 13.3% extra state income tax that you'd have to pay if you lived in San Diego. So there's that. Number two, who is your favorite football player of all time, and who's the greatest football player of all time?
So favorite, I'm gonna say favorite and greatest, but maybe not necessarily demonstrated. I'm gonna say Barry Sanders.
So good.
And so good with little resources, but he had a heart like no other. Loyal to his team to the point where he'd rather stop the sport altogether if he couldn't give it his all. And just enjoyable to watch and know that he had more gas in the tank than what he showed. So that's going to be my vote. And again, I'm going to say a little bit biased, but only because like I said, we grew up cheering for Detroit teams all together. But I think a lot of folks can support that. If he's not your top running back, he's in the top three. And with a subpar line and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of friends from Michigan. My financial advisor is actually from Flint, And people think of Flint today differently than I think. He grew up in Flint, was actually kind of an affluent area. Now people think of Flint and they think of like bad water and stuff like that, right? And crime. But
that's right.
he's like, it wasn't like that when I was growing up. There was still wealth left over from the automotive industry back then. But he's a big Lions fan, and I'm throwing my support behind these guys. Barry Sanders, I remember legitimately, I think it was 99 in the summer when he retired, and actually feeling upset. I'm not a Lions fan. I'm a Patriots fan, but feeling like legitimately disappointed because he was just so fun to watch, and you knew he had more left in the tank. He was going to smash every record there was, and he was just so humble that it was like I felt something. You know what I mean? Even though he wasn't on my team, I'm like, damn. Calvin Johnson did it too, and I'm like, that organization's just, they had been broken, so it's nice to see where they're at this weekend. I think the greatest player, the toughest player of all time is Tom Brady. I don't think there's any secret. California guy, right? San Mateo. I think that, and I've even said this to people too, I think he's underrated because there are things that he did, especially from just sheerly toughness. Just probably underrated in terms of how tough he was, and maybe even some of his leadership qualities, because I think the quarterback position is the most important position in all of sports. And probably 80% of what goes into being a great quarterback is decision making, more so than any of the physical skills. And you could argue that his decision making is better than anybody, maybe Peyton Manning in the history of the sport. So I like Tom, but Barry Sanders to me has the greatest highlight reel of all time. And certainly as a kid growing up and watching him, anytime the Lions were on, you're just waiting for that one, juke ankle breaking move, and just shaking your head at it.
That's right. No, I think you're spot on. One thing you said about Tom Brady, I can appreciate, and I live this myself, is the value of leadership. And so, I mean, I would say he probably was. You're in the NFL as a starting quarterback, so you're not athletic. You're not, but if he didn't have the biggest arm. Nope. He definitely wasn't fast. He was tall, but he knew how to command leadership, and what came out of his pores got absorbed by his teammates in a different way. He had a very average team across. Like, look at everybody else. I mean,
it's true.
You got a couple of shifty receivers, but no real just blazer. But when you get Randy Moss, you're not getting folks in their prime, and every year you're trying to train a new set of characters. It was very Michael Jordan-ish, where but when you walked into his presence, you're going to know, this is the leader, and he demands excellence. And when you can have that same level of respect, appreciation for your leader, it's crazy how things can change. And there's a book that we built our organization around called Extreme Ownership.
Oh, by Jocko.
Jocko. Love it.
It's great.
Emotional intelligence, and how you can get expertise out of just, doing the right leadership. And so you look at teams and how they can improve because of that. And that, when you say Tom Brady, I mean, that's what I feel. I feel somebody that has he has the ability to bring a Gronk out of retirement, because he says, look, we gotta go do this. He says, yes, you're my leader. And I think that's there's some value there, a whole lot of value.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think some of it is leading by example and of course mental toughness. And the line of work that we're in, it doesn't require as much physical toughness, but there is a level of physical toughness when you're working 80-hour weeks, which I've said this before and I'll say it again. I tend to max out at about 65. Honestly, I think that in some cases less is more. I think if you grind too hard, sometimes you start to burn out. You start to lose some of your creativity. You know what I mean? So there's always a balance. And as you know, when you're running your own business, you never really shut off, right? So in those rare opportunities that you have a chance to shut off, I think it's important to practice mindfulness, to kind of get away from work, spend time with family, but it's hard. Like my son's kicking around the soccer ball with me, he's 6 years old, and my mind starts drifting to, okay, what does next month look like? Do I have enough resources to man up my accounts? What's falling off? What's kind of in the green? What's in the yellow? What's in the red? How are we doing on placing that resource? Oh, I need to check him out with my recruiter. And my son's like, Daddy. And I'm like, it's like, because the kids need love and they need attention and appreciation. Do you have kids?
I do. I have two girls, 15 and 11.
Oh,
But
I
you're
have daughters.
spot on. Yeah.
I have daughters who are 13 and 11 and
Okay.
a son who's 6. So we just went back in after you did. But yeah,
Right.
so
Right. Right.
you really get it. And I think it's important for us to be dads
Mhm.
first, but
Yep.
also demonstrate kind of what work ethic looks like. But, kids just want to be loved and shown attention. And I hate when I get stuck on
Yep.
this, right? And responding to this and getting on the phone. And I even hear it breaks my heart sometimes, my kid to be like, I want to play. I want to kick the ball with daddy, but he's working. It
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
breaks your
Yeah.
heart because you work from
Yes.
home and it's different if you're in the office and just like, oh, buddy, I'm
No.
sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. You're right. That is actually. I think about my wife taps into that resource a little bit because she'll know if my phone rings as my daughter's, I'll answer first pickup.
For
This is my
sure.
wife. I'm like, oh, she knows the code and she has to call back twice if it's really important. So I can just hear my wife saying, "Look, go nudge on that heartstring and call Daddy real quick and see if he can
That's
give us a quick
amazing.
answer on this item." But you're right. I mean, we have to be able to do that, and that's some of they said like when I quit, what are you doing tomorrow, Leon? I said I'm gonna take my kids to school. This is February, right? February
Yeah.
15th, February 30. It was that Thursday, and I said I'm gonna take my kids to school tomorrow because I don't normally do that because I'm normally in the office by 7:30. And that next day, I'm using Waze. It's February now, so they've been in school since August, and I don't know how
You're
to get to
using
their school.
ways.
I got
Yeah.
to use Waze. Like that's an issue. So that's when you know, like, oh no, there's a better way to do this, and it's not. It's not that you have to stay on to your point all the time. You can find ways to work and have fun and do it the right way. Um, but you can't, working on important things, gathering value, doing it the right way, candor. I mean, that we're honest, where we want to give you the
I like
honest
that.
result. It's, even if it's not the popular one, it truly is the right answer. And that's in all aspects. And I think, when you do it that way, and that's the reason why I keep on harping on the extreme ownership pathway. When you
Yeah.
do it the right way, people feel that. Like it comes so like you have teammates rallying around you that you would call that person average. Now they're busting their tail because a boss treats me well.
It takes very little. And I always say showing appreciation for those around you without asking for anything in return is something that I wish more leaders did.
Yep.
At least I could have used some of that more from leaders in my career, and I make sure that I do that with my people. Because it's like a bank, right? You're just constantly making these deposits and investments in a bank so that when you do need to ask for a withdrawal, you're entitled to ask for that withdrawal if you do so in the right way.
Exactly. No, that's spot on. Now, can I ask you? I know we're getting close to time, but
Leon, I got all day for you, my man.
Okay, well, first of all, do you have any more rapid fire ones? Because I feel like I'm supposed to be answering them faster if I keep on babbling.
Yeah, we're having fun. I want to know what you think the score of the Lions. After this comes out, it'll probably be after the Super Bowl anyway.
Right.
So maybe Lions will have won by then. But what's your prediction? What does your heart tell you? What does your head tell you on this Lions Niners NFC Championship game?
I honestly believe the Lions can do it. It's weird what happens when somebody actually thinks, okay, like, no, we can actually win this thing.
Yeah.
And them seeing the Niners, call it, skirt by barely by Green Bay when the game they probably could have lost, probably should have lost it. I don't say should have, but you probably could have lost.
They should have lost that game.
Yeah, I think that tells a lot. Like we know we can do this. This is not just a Cinderella. We got lucky here. Like no, we have a team. We have good coaching. So, I would say 10 points. I don't think any of these games will be a massive blowout, but I think Lions by 10, which would be a big win. It's not going to be. I hope but I think it's not going to be a nail biter, and I think it's going to be Lions and the Ravens actually.
That's what I want. Just because we see the Chiefs so much, you could memorize their roster by now. I'd like to see Lamar get a chance. He's had such a good season, and they're just like kind of a model franchise. Great defense. They got to be the favorites right now. Yeah. But I like San Francisco's team. I'm out here in Colorado. Christian McCaffrey is a Colorado kid. Even some of his high school games were on TV, so he would score like 5 touchdowns a game.
Right.
And he's a beast, so it's fun to watch them. But I hope the Lions win. I've got a lot of friends who are Lions fans. Also, as a Patriots fan, we got 6. The Niners have 5. I don't really want to see them get 6. Also, I kind of like to keep that rung
Right.
above them, you know. But my final question for you, before I get to you telling us how to find you and your company, all that is what advice, if any, would you give to yourself, to Leon Oloya at 21, 22, 23 years old? You've gained wisdom, which is really important. You've done the entrepreneurial thing now for a while. You worked at the big company up the corporate ladder. You've moved around. You got kids. You got a family. What advice, if any, would you have for the Leon half your age?
Well, that's a good one. Advice. I'd probably say be more intentional on some of the things that I probably did them, but be more intentional on how you can utilize that to improve. So I'll give you an example. I went to grad school at Rice. And
Yeah,
when I signed up, and you said, Leon, why are you going to grad school? And I was like, I don't know. Like, it's free. The company's going to pay for it all. And Rice is a pretty good school. So,
sure.
like, yeah, I'm going to go.
Might as
But
well,
like,
right?
that answer should have been no, because we're, this is '09. We're in, call it transition with economic crisis coming down now to position myself to be a better global leader.
Yeah,
I need to know that some of these X's and O's. And so I gathered some of that accidentally on purpose, whatever, but a more intentional Leon would have spent more focus there. I think of people in college that I'm like, man, that person would have been a great resource to further that relationship. They own whatever, a winery, or this person owns some farms, or
yeah,
I could have went there and learned that process. And but at the time, you own a winery, you think you can give me a free bottle of wine? I mean, that's where what
yeah.
your expansion of mind was, where you could have been much more intentional. But I think the thing that I did do right was I was always trying to work and have fun while doing it. And so what that meant was, I accidentally learned things. I accidentally got exposed to items, and next thing you know, you pick up, oh, you actually like this sport. You like golf. You didn't think you were gonna like it, but you started playing because somebody else introduced you, and you didn't take that. Oh, I can't do that. That's boring. And now all of a sudden, so yeah, that's probably what I would say. The younger Leon, going back, and some of the stuff that I try to instill in my daughters is like, think through, like, what are you dreaming about? What are you? What goals do you want to have? And what are some of the things to get there? Like, I don't necessarily got to be militant and be so strict on how you chart it out at age 11. But if you think like, hey, I want to, get faster and run track, like, hey, think about, like, should I eat this bag of Cheetos right now?
Come on, man. When you're 15 years old, you can have a bag of Cheetos. You'll be fine.
Right. And I don't, like I said, I don't want to necessarily make it be so militant, but if okay, look, I have a desire, I want this. Even like, we get a big kick on saving money. My kids are real. This is the reason why. One of the questions I'm going to ask you about is Bitcoin and some of the blockchain.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan in digital currency because
me too.
not that I can explain it that well, but I know it works. I'll see my kids want Robux so bad for their Roblox game that they will do any physical utility work right then and there. And I'm like, see, that passion that you have for that digital dollar right now, like that was your goal. I got to get this rolling. I don't know what they're buying on the game, but that goal was so strong. And like, what do you need me to do? And they go knock it out. I give them $5. They hand it right back to me. So that way I can go put the dollars in on Microsoft and they're off. And it shows that, you thought about something you wanted. You were intentional about it. You actually dialed in and said, like, hey, I can figure out a way how to get this. I might have to go wash dishes when I don't want to, or go read a book, or do something I don't want to do right now. But yeah, I can get there. So it's that's the I would say where I would give myself a little bit more advice at the age of 21.
Yeah, be more intentional and lack some judgment. I think that you probably were intentional, so I think you were reaching a little bit. You have a great amount of discipline, but the idea of like, why am I going to grad school? Oh, because it's a good school and my company's going to pay for it. That's not uncommon for somebody that was in your shoes to do it. But the right answer should have been, because I'm going to learn things to become a better global leader and enhance my network. And maybe those were on the list, but they weren't one on
They
the
weren't one.
list.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So yeah, no, it's but yeah, I do think that as we're getting smarter and things like AI and whatnot, I feel like life expectancy is going to grow, and so hopefully,
Sure.
those lost years or delays will I can still add them up on the back end here.
Well,
But,
don't worry. With inflation, you and I are going to be working for another 35 years anyway. So, especially with kids, Leon, where can people find you? Social media, your company website, things of that nature.
yeah,
Where can you be found?
yeah. So candortechnical.com, CAND as in dog, OR, technical.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn. Those are probably our two best locations.
Sure.
We are trying to beef up our social media presence, so you might see us on additional outlets after that. Also on my email suffix, and you'll see on the website, I do have hours set up where you can click in Calendly and book time. So
Nice.
we like to get in front of people. We like to chat with people. Like to understand problems and see how we can solve them. And so please reach out. Anything.
I love the name, Candor Technical. If you look on my website and in any of the kind of pitch decks that I throw out there, I talk about the pillars of funk, right? The sort of the 5 things that matter to funk futures. And I don't use the word candor, I use the word authenticity, but I think the concept is the same, right?
Yep.
Is we have to be honest with ourselves, with our teammates, and especially with our clients.
Right.
And I think that is one thing that's going to help separate us. And kudos to you for leaning into that as well. And don't lose that, right? Because there's going to be opportunities that you have where candor may not be the most financially beneficial answer, right?
Right.
So my small bit of advice, but whether it's candor, whether if it's being genuine, whether it's authenticity, Leon, I think you bring all those qualities to the table. I think your business is going to crush it. And I'm glad you came on today. So I appreciate you, my man.
No, thank you so much. I hope to do this again very soon.